Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Welcome new viewers from all over the world. Great show lined up for you tonight. Some exciting stuff. Couple of really special guests, one returning and one brand new. The first brand new guest we have up will be Brandon Pringle, a candidate for the Solidarity Movement of Alberta, the new party being led by world-famous Pastor Artur Pawlowskiś, who I'm sure you are all aware has been arrested multiple times and was even mentioned last night during the debate between Rachel Notley and Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta. So we're very excited to have Brandon on the program tonight. He will tell us what the Solidarity Party is all about out in Alberta, and we'll discuss his candidacy as well. Then later in the program, joining us will be Rhonda Jubenville, who many of you are already familiar with. Rhonda has been on the program a number of times. She is a local councillor in my home community here of Chatham-Kent, Ontario, but she again is making international headlines, this time with controversy surrounding her concerns about the way the Canadian flag is being treated. I think that what you'll hear from Rhonda tonight is that her comments are being misinterpreted, misunderstood, largely. And it has to do with a decision by a school principal and, well, actually multiple school principals and the school board in this area to fly a gay pride flag underneath the Canadian flag on the same flagpole. And she was just talking about proper protocol in that situation. So we'll talk to Rhonda about that, find out what's going on, because that has blown up into another gigantic issue. And we'll get Rhonda's comments, thoughts, and explanations later on in the show. She has been a very strong voice for freedom, a strong freedom fighter, and she's arrived on the political scene and is making a big splash at the municipal level in a way that has carried her voice forward internationally. So Rhonda coming up shortly. We'll also touch on the top news of the day, and it is, if you're a person of faith or fragile sensitivities, please plug your ears because it is FU Friday. And, you know, it's not my show, it's everyone's show. And this is something that you guys asked for. So I'll let you have at it later on in the show. I'm sure you've been saving up your frustrations all week since last week's first debut episode of FU Friday. Well, this is the encore performance, episode number 2. This is your chance to give a big FU to anybody or anything that you think you can want to draw attention to. And I'm going to say that I better turn off that phone because somebody is trying to call me in the middle of the program. So stay with me when we come back. Our first guest of the night, Brandon Pringle of the Solidarity Movement of Ontario, the new political party out in Alberta. Don't go away.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back, and joining us live now, not far from Red Deer, Alberta, is Brandon Pringle. Hello, Brandon Maverick Test.
Hello, Rick, and hello, audience.
Yes, Brandon Pringle is this gentleman's name, in spite of what's on the graphic there. Let me just see if I can fix that for you.
Oh, my apologies. I was trying
okay,
to.
I'm going to fix it for you right now, so that we don't confuse people.
Thanks,
I want
Rick.
everybody to know exactly who you are, especially since you're running for office. You're never going to get anywhere unless people know who you are.
Yes, that could make a difficulty in an internet search for sure.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Thanks, Rick.
No problem. All right. Well, welcome to the program. And now we have your name up on the screen and everybody knows who you are. First of all, just introduce yourself and tell us where it is that you're running for office.
Running in Alberta, for those of you around the world, Alberta, in this central area of Alberta, right below Red Deer is where my riding is. It's called Innisfail and Sylvan Lake. So it's quite a large area made up mostly of farming, ranching communities, and just regular down-home Albertans that just like to just want to carry on with a peaceful life.
Okay. And I guess those are kind of key words, and that sort of clues me into kind of what your political ideology might be about, which is probably one of, and knowing what I know about Pastor Archer, one of less government. You're not happy with the level of government intrusion into our lives. Is that about it in a nutshell?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm over 50 now, and everybody keeps saying that the government is a solution to our problems, and the government is 10 times the size it was when I was a kid, and the problems are 10 times worse. So nobody can argue with that. So we need limited government, less bureaucracy, and power to the people.
Right. Now, Pastor Archer Pawlowskiś, for those of you who may not know, and I don't know, you'd have to be living under a rock at this point not to understand who he is. He is now the leader of this solidarity movement of Alberta, or I guess we'll call it the Solidarity Party. He was the leader for a short time of the Independence Party of Alberta.
Yes.
How did this Solidarity Party get going so quickly?
Well, first of all, Pastor Archer, the Solidarity movement is foundational from Poland, when the people that were extremely oppressed under communism rose up peacefully and defeated communism. And so,
Walensa at the time.
Yes, and we have such an abusive, tyrannical communist dictatorship attempting to completely control Canada right now that we definitely need a solidarity movement. I mean, when the leader of the country is saying that he admires communist China, we have a serious problem in our hands. At least he said it. I mean, we already knew it already, but at least he actually came out and said it.
So there's certainly the Solidarity Movement of Alberta gives us a definite nod to the Solidarity Movement of Poland.
Oh,
and that's where Archer is from.
Yes, absolutely. And so because he left communism and came here, he was like, wow, this is communism. I left communism to come to a free place. And so most of us have been totally asleep. He recognized communism because he saw it. And so he's been a very vocal opponent of communism. I mean, the guy's been attacked, has been vilified, has been fined over and over for the crime of giving homeless people food. So, I mean, what kind of free country fines you for feeding homeless people? Like, it's unconscionable.
So during the pandemic, of course, Arthur made headlines many times when he had confrontations with the authorities when the lockdown measures were at their height. And I'm just going to run this video because this is one of the ones that really catapulted him to international attention. This is when police paid him a direct visit at his street church ministries, if I'm calling that correctly. But here's the video.
Get out. Get out of this property. Immediately get out. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to see anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. 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 Out of this property. Immediately out. Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property. Immediately out. I don't care what you have to say. Out. Out. Out of this property, you Nazis. Out. Out. Gestapo is not allowed here. Immediately, Gestapo is not allowed. Out. Do you understand English? Get out of this property. Go. So go. Go. And don't come back without the warrant. Out, Nazi. Out. Out. You understand? Nazis are not welcome here. Out. And don't come back without the warrant. Do not come back without the warrant. You understand that? You're not welcome here. Nazis are not welcome here. Gestapo is not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths. Unbelievable, sick, evil people. Intimidating people in a church during the Passover. You Gestapo, Nazi, communist, fascists. Don't you dare coming back here. Can you imagine those psychopaths? Passover, the holiest Christian festival in a year, and they're coming to intimidate Christians during the holiest festival? Unbelievable. What is wrong with those sick psychopaths? It's beyond me.
Thanks for playing that, Rick.
Yeah, it certainly, I mean, I know that video alone just, that went around the world.
Yes.
So that's your leader. That is Arthur Pawlowskiś. And for a time, I mean, what can I say? He decided to get into politics, I guess, and then became the leader of the Independence Party for a time. But tell me what happened with all of that, because there's some sort of a story attached to that maybe people are not familiar with. He was with the Independence Party, and then there was this phone call with Danielle Smith and the premier, and then they turfed him as the leader, and now he's heading up this new party, the Solidarity Movement of Alberta. Can you kind of bring us up to speed? Because there's been a lot of movement there. What's going on with Arthur and all this party affiliation?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Rick. And I just forgot something very important. A shout out to Rimby John Scotty, our hometown Alberta intrepid reporter that got to make this happen. So appreciate that, John. Pastor Arthur is so brave, and nobody else is willing to go to prison for our freedoms and our rights. And so, you know, it's funny because whether you believe in Jesus or not is really a side issue from the fact that Jesus, when he spoke And people said, oh, he was a religious figure. No, the Pharisees were political. They had the full right to arrest people and kill people, as they did. And so Jesus went absolutely hard in the paint against the political and religious leaders of the day. And so Pastor Arter is just simply following that example and defending the people from abuse, from government authority. Now, going into the Independence Party, Pastor Arter tells a story. He's like, well, I'm a pastor. And of course, he was in prison for 2 months. So more pastors have been imprisoned in Alberta than anywhere in Canada, and more attacks on freedom in Alberta and in Australia than any place in the world. And that is not an accident. The global overlords know full well that Australia and Alberta are free-minded people. So the idea is to crush us first so that everybody gets the message. Don't mess with us. You see what happened to Australia? You see what happened to Alberta? That's what's going to happen to you if you mess with us. So that's why the attacks are coming furious and hard here. So he's in prison for the crime of being a pastor and preaching. And so he said to himself, well, if I can't...
Well, to be technical, I mean, that's not what they imprisoned him for. I don't really remember all the different charges. He said a wide range of charges from breach of conditions to, I mean, I don't even know what the charges are, but
yeah,
I mean, they have pandemic violations and lockdown violations. And
yeah, they're all attacks on freedom of speech.
Sure.
Pretty much. So that need to be extended to everyone. But so he was like, well, if I'm going to be imprisoned as a pastor, well, they can't really imprison me if I'm a politician. So he was approached. He didn't go looking for this job. Somebody approached him and said, would you consider running for this party, for the Independence Party? And so he was like, well, I will. So I was there when he was elected, and he gave an incredible speech. And he says that I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a pastor. And as soon as, if I am elected premier, as soon as a suitable replacement is found, I will resign. So then fast forward 8 months later to the annual general meeting. We're literally looking at 5 days before the annual general meeting. And the board just decided to boot him out of the party because they didn't like his politically incorrect things that he was saying. Now, it's just the party could have very well waited until the weekend to do this vote. But they didn't do that on purpose because they knew if they did that, then the people might decide they want him as a leader. And we can't have that. And so if they're going to claim that they're doing politics different, then they have to do it different. So it was a total attempt to take him out of the election completely. But we've had tons of favor, and we were able to rally 44 candidates. We got it into Elections Alberta, and we are hitting the ground running full speed ahead.
Okay, so that's 44 candidates out of there are 80 some ridings approximately across Alberta. Is that right?
Yeah, 87. Yeah.
So you have about half of the ridings covered, and I think you have twice as many candidates running with the Solidarity Movement as the Independence Party actually has now. Is that not?
Absolutely. And not only that, Rick, but one thing, because of I was actually very much on the fence as to whether or not I was going to join Solidarity, not because it's not the right thing to do, but the way the election rules are, and I could do a whole show, maybe we'll talk about that sometime, on just how difficult it is to break in if you're an independent. So it was going to be very difficult if we didn't meet the threshold. So a number of candidates decided to go the independent direction so they didn't have to fall under election rules and miss the deadline. So I believe we probably have about 15 to 25 independents that are basically 100% have the same values that we have. And so should they be elected as well, we would have an opportunity for a very powerful coalition.
Okay, so you speak of values. Can you kind of lay out what those values are, what the party platform is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, healthcare. So, I mean, we need to fast track the 69,000 backlog of surgeries. This is absolutely unconscionable. $24 billion a year that we're spending on healthcare. And I mean, the two ruling class parties, the NDP and the UCP, I don't want to give them too much air, but basically they have created the problem that we have right now. And it is just amazing to me, and actually that they have the audacity to claim that they're the solution when they've had 4 years, both of them, and we are in absolute crisis mode. I come from the business industry, and if you were given 4 years and you had this crisis, you'd have been fired long time ago. If you took over an NHL franchise or something and you had this losing record over 2-3 years, you'd have been so fired. So we need change.
Okay. That's healthcare. What other areas of concern do you have? You don't have a full website up, I noticed, but you do have a landing page. And let me just bring this up here. No, that's that one. Here it is here. I'm just going to bring up the one-page website that is up. It is under construction. It says, but it does list some of the issues that you're highlighting as part of your platform. So maybe you can just kind of go over these or other parts of the platform that people don't know about. Right here off the top, it's saying that no more lesser of two evils. Lesser of two evils, still evil.
Yes, absolutely. And I have, of course, my brochure here as well. Make sure I give you my email address. Sorry. I'm going over more values, right?
Sure, that's fine. I mean, I was just starting at the top of the list there on the
right. I got off,
but yeah. You can talk about any other part of the platform you like. As far as I'm concerned, I just would like to let people know what you guys stand for, what you're about. So
thanks, Rick. I just got off track a little bit because with all the election rules, it is so and the fact that Pastor Archer was ambushed at the last second. We had a working website before, so we basically had to create all the stuff from scratch, and there's very major election hurdles and other things. So so we're getting this up to speed as quick as we can for people. But near the end of the show, I'll make sure to mention. Well, actually, I'm going to just say it right now. Freedom for 14921 at outlook.com. That's freedom 14921 at outlook.com. You can send me an email there, and I can make
one more time, and I'll put it up on a banner for you on a graphic. Freedom 14129.
Sorry, 14921.
Okay.
At outlook.com. Can you grab me the other one, babe? And so, crime and justice. My father-in-law is retired RCMP, and I love the RCMP. And so, but when we saw the jackboots on the ground in Ontario, now you're saying, okay, Brandon, you're being a little hype, aggressive with that phraseology. That's not my words. That's the words of the RCMP themselves, from the texts that were released when they were about to go out and attack the Freedom Convoy. So we need our own police force here in Alberta. RCMP are welcome. So my belief is that you just have to fill out a simple questionnaire. Are you for the Freedom Convoy or not? If they say no, then you can't apply for a police job in Alberta because you're not qualified. We can't all have people, and this might sound a little bit harsh, but Hitler didn't put a single Jew in an oven, and Hitler didn't put a single Jew on a train. The police did that. And so tyrannical governments have no power when the police don't go and do their bidding. So
you're calling for the creation of a provincial police service, similar
that's
to what
correct.
Ontario has with the OPP.
That's correct. And there's a bunch of freedom loving RCMP who are good people that serve and protect and have been bullied into silence. And so we welcome those RCMP to Alberta. We know that they'll do a very good job for our citizens. And we need an elected chief of police. We need to put an end to all this consistent political stuff. I mean, the tyrannical mayor of Calgary she told the police to go do something and they didn't do it. So then she tweets out her demands. And then all of a sudden the chief of police has their marching orders and off they go. I mean, it's great that you played that video, Rick, because it's very instructional. When you watch that video closely, you'll see something very important. You'll notice that the police officers, who are very well trained and know how to control a situation, all sitting in the background like scared puppies. The bully is in the front, the unelected health official. And so this cannot be tolerated. And so we have to stop wrongful, biased law enforcement. And when we have somebody that is elected, that we can use recall legislation to replace, that'll make sure that we don't have entrenched authorities that think they're above the law.
So you're calling for a change in provincial legislation that would implement elections for police chiefs in municipalities?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Education. We're going to stop the indoctrination of children. Like it is amazing to me that you have Pierre Trudeau, if anybody remembers, he said the government has no business in the bedrooms
of the nation.
Okay, but now Trudeau is breaking down my door and breaking down the church door and breaking down the door of our classrooms, trying to force his ideology on us. If you want to choose a lifestyle like that, you have the freedom to choose that, but you don't have the freedom to try to shove it down my throat. So the NDP makes a big deal about residential schools. Well, they're actually implementing a new form of residential school in our education system by hiding children, trying to protect children from their parents. No. It's the NDP that we need to protect our children from. The government should never be trying to hide what they're teaching children. So we need to end indoctrination of the children. We need to the teacher setup they've got in Alberta right now is sweet. Let me tell you, they don't fire anybody. The union protects all the teachers, even the terrible ones. Mm-hmm. And they also don't have any performance metrics for the children. They just get passed on. You can't fail them. So you get 60, 80 grand a year and nobody checks up on your performance. And the children are the ones that's suffering. And, the current union, teachers union, is spending millions of dollars advertising about how bad private schools are and homeschool education. The homeschool education has saved Alberta taxpayers $750 million. And not only have they saved the province $750 million, they get better results. So how are you going to argue with that? And the NDP wants to take that away. Rachel Notley, literally on May 5th, she spoke about trying to increase the funding for the current system that's broken. Currently, Canada is a laughingstock. We've dropped 17 points in education because of this woke indoctrination and no performance metrics. So this has got to change.
Well, education is certainly under provincial jurisdiction. So you have, if you were able to form the government, you certainly would have it within your power to change the curriculum that mean, municipal school boards would be following. You would dictate that direction for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some people get upset that Pastor Arthur is a pastor. Well, the issue is that nobody's upset that Martin Luther King Jr. was a pastor. He was one of the greatest leaders in history. Peter Lougheed was one of the greatest leaders in Alberta history. A number of the great leaders of Alberta were pastors. And, you can't have religion in politics. Well, let me tell you, do you think Trudeau has a religion that he's brought into politics? Well, of course he has. It's a climate change religion. It's climate worship. And that's why they have all these climate initiatives going on. And every single society in all of history, civilization, that has worshiped Mother Nature slaughters people. And so that's why they don't care that they're wrecking the environment. They don't care because they worship Mother Nature. So you're always going to have religion in government. It's just a question is if it's going to be a righteous and good religion and government that serves the people, and is it accountable to God? If you're accountable to God, you're scared. You should be scared. You have a legitimate fear of God who's going to hold you accountable. And that's what keeps you on the straight and narrow.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I guess you've got the end net zero reference there on your platform.
Oh, you better believe it. It's where do I got it on this side here? End net zero. CO2 is a miracle gas that encourages plant growth, but it increases oxygen. Okay, let's let trees make oxygen. I mean, if you know anything about the greenhouse industry, they actually pump CO2 into greenhouses to encourage the plant growth. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of Bjorn Lomborg? Dr. Bjorn Lomborg. He's written a book called The Skeptical Environmentalist. It's about 3 inches thick. And basically all these hysterical climate propaganda, he debunks in his book. And what he's saying is that we need to stop all this carbon capture. It's wasting money. What we need to do is spend all those billions of dollars getting oil out of the ground, raising the living standard of the average person, and then we have all the finances and resources to address any belief that there is this climate change. I mean, climate change, yes, it's called seasons, summers, spring, fall, winter. I mean, I have the statistics to prove it. I mean, which one of us thinks legitimately that we can control the sun? Not me. I'm not putting my hand up on that. So we need to raise the living standard of people. And if we really feel at that point that we have tackle these things, then when you educate 1 billion people and take them out of poverty, man, that's a lot of human initiative and ingenuity that we can put towards solving these problems.
Sure. I watched the debate. I couldn't watch it last night because we were on the air at the same time, and I didn't run it live last night, which maybe I should have, but I didn't. I did watch the debate between Rachel Notley, leader of the New Democratic Party, and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. And of course, we're in the middle of this election right now, folks, in case you haven't clued in. But one issue that I did not hear mentioned even one time, unless I missed it during the debate, was 15-minute cities. But there it is right in the center of the list of planks in the Solidarity Movement platform.
Yeah.
Can you explain what your position is on that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a completely attack on freedom of movement and control. I mean, you got it. Winston Churchill said, the farther you look into the past, the farther you can see into the future. And when the United States was created, their constitution, it was freedom of movement. Well, why? It was like, oh, that's duh. Everybody knows that we should have freedom of movement. No, they didn't. That many kings didn't allow you to leave the city. They didn't leave you allowed the country. If you could leave, you would leave. I mean, so they need the taxpayers and they need to implement the tyrannical rule. And so you weren't allowed to leave, just like communist China.
So are you saying that it's your view that a 15-minute city is a prison?
100% open air prison. Absolutely. We're we're from sea to shining sea. Well, what's the point of having sea to shining sea if you can't? I mean, my sister says something very amazing. It's she says the difference between conspiracy and reality is 6 months. So every time, we were told we weren't going to have vax passes. 6 months later, we have vax passes. We were told, hey, you're never going to have quarantines. Well, guess what? 6 months later, 4 months later, Trudeau had prisons that he had created, and people were taken there against their will. So, I mean, again, the farther you look into the past, the farther you can see into the future. And so if somebody wants to live in a communist gulag, then why aren't you moving to China? Why are you trying to turn Canada into Cuba? I mean, I've had a friend who's quite on the not as conservative as you say as I was, but he sent me this text saying none of the caravans they're all going to America. Why aren't they going to Cuba if China is so amazing? You don't see it.
Respectfully, I see the 15-minute city issue differently than you do, and
right.
I respect your view on it. I don't personally think that they would be prisons, but I certainly do understand the restrictions on mobility that would come with the creation of these districts where they would be imposing taxation on people who drive into, beyond certain areas multiple times. It would be a different way of taxing people in order to alter their behavior and get people to drive less. And I certainly understand, issues surrounding surveillance and the use of digital technologies in a specific area. I don't see them as being exactly prisons. I see them as being a vehicle for greater taxation and behavior modification. But so we're sort of on the same page. I think our language is a little different and our view is slightly different at the end. I think, I'm not quite there with you on the end game, but that being said, in this plank of the platform, it's saying you're going to outlaw 15-minute cities. So how exactly would you outlaw a 15-minute city? What would that kind of legislation look like?
Well, if you ever heard of Saul Alinsky, this book here, Rules for Radicals, everybody needs to read this book. He lays out how it's a game of inches, and you just basically get this little law put in place, and this little law put in place, and this little law put in place, and they're the frogs in the boiling water, and then you got them, and it's too late.
Yeah.
And this book here, The Naked Communist, one of the most important books. It's basically the primer to how to get this done. And so I appreciate the pushback, Rick, because it's important that we actually walk this down the road to where it's finally going. And so that is what they want. And so what we do is actually we just simply put laws in place to prevent this type of control. I mean,
So are you talking about legislation that would focus on people's rights or and you're talking about, you're a provincial party, so you would be a provincial government.
Yes.
So your jurisdiction would be limited in some ways because we do have, federal laws and provincial laws and the municipal bylaws. So,
yes.
You do have some jurisdiction there, but not total jurisdiction.
That's
so
right.
We're talking about new laws to govern the use of the digital technology, or is it specific legislation to govern or address people's rights, like charter rights and constitutional rights at a higher level? What does all of that look like?
So strengthen those things. Elect judges also. Get rid of these activist judges that just seem to make up their laws. I mean, when you read the charter, it's like it's hardly worth anything because the judges don't enforce the charter. Which
judges are you talking about?
So all across the province. I mean, I have a group of friends that new friends. I mean, I've known people from Quebec. I actually had a roommate back in Banff, but I mean, now I'm gathering a whole new group of friends, Quebecers that are fleeing the tyrannical stuff in Quebec, and so we need to, you don't really think that you need to put these things in place until you realize how badly they're being attacked. And so the founding fathers.
So you're talking about electing just, the provincial judges, right? Because of
Yes.
course you don't have jurisdiction over federal courts.
No, but what'll start to happen is people are fleeing California for Texas in record numbers, and people are fleeing Canada in record numbers because Alberta is turning out to be the final hideout, and so we've got to put laws in place that stop this legislative bureaucratic creep that's slowly just taking away all of our freedoms. Mm-hmm. I mean, that video that you played with Pastor Archer going in a church, that's actually illegal. That's illegal to do what they did, but no judge actually stepped up and enforced the law. They just implemented their own ideology.
That is true. They're not supposed to enter a church when there's a church service in progress. They're not supposed to do that.
So how are we doing for time, Rick?
Oh, we're okay. Let's just keep on going. If Rhonda shows up, she can maybe join in on the conversation, because Rhonda's due to be here probably in about 15 or 20 minutes, but she'll fit right in. I'm sure of that. So
yes. Well, okay. Thank you. So I don't want to talk too much about what everybody else is doing, but Rachel Notley just said she's going to do $74 million for arts. Are you kidding me? We have $69,000 number of 69,000 surgeries backlogged, and we're gonna spend $74 million on arts. Are you kidding me? Like
that's 69,000 surgeries backlogged. That's an incredible number of people who are on waiting lists, and I guess that's a reflection of the failure of the healthcare system under the jurisdiction or the guidance of, I guess, both the NDP and the United Conservative Party, which is currently in power right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so simple to fix this. There's just not the will.
So when you say it's simple to fix, what's your fix?
The fix is this. It's very simple. We have $24 billion. How it's being allocated is there's a whole bunch of people up at the top that is this massive bureaucracy. It's the same in the Calgary firefighters. Calgary fires have 1,400 firefighters, and the New York City firefighters have 20,000. Guess what? They both have the same bureaucracy. So City of Calgary has as many bureaucrats to manage 1,400 as they do in New York for 20,000. That's a start, first of all. And then second of all, you allow for private clinics. Now, everybody that is the socialists are going to lose their minds for a second, but just hear me out. And I want to hear anyone that disagrees with me, please email me. I want to talk this out. I really, really want to hear people's opinions, but this is such a simple fix. You bring in for-profit clinics. You tell the for-profit clinics, you have to leave 50% of your procedures open to the general public. And you can't bill the government more than 20 to 25%. This is already being done all over the world. So if somebody wants to pay for their surgery and they want it now, 50% of them can pay for their surgery and they can have it right now. And so that actually leaves more money for other programs. So it's actually a win-win. We would bring in medical tourism. I mean, you got Canadians going to Mexico for dental care. What if they were spending their money here instead? So it's a win-win. Capitalism is always more efficient. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. You don't need to look any farther than LASIK eye surgery is the perfect example. LASIK eye surgery came in. It was $20,000 an eye. Only rich people could afford it. And then enough rich people bought it so that more doctors started doing it because it was profitable. And they had to spend their own money and they had to do it efficiently. And then more doctors started doing it until finally now it's down to like $2,000 an eye. Tons of the regular population can go get it done. And so we need to empower nurses to be able to just go and do their job. There's a bunch of nurses that were taken off the playing field because they wouldn't accept the religion about accepting accepting a medical treatment that was against their conscience. And those nurses are sitting on the sidelines. We didn't have any medication with which to treat this flu for a year, and we did just fine. And that's why Jason Kenney got fired. He should have been fired. People say, well, I feel bad for him. He didn't know what to do. No excuses for that. He had Florida.
For those who don't know, Jason Kenney was the former premier of Alberta under the United Conservative Party of Canada, of Alberta. And when he stepped down, resigned, Danielle Smith was elected the new leader and then became the premier. And now the first election is taking place, and she's seeking to be elected for the first time as premier with her party, reelected, and now the Solidarity Movement with Artur Pawlowskiś leading it, and Brandon in his position also seeking to challenge that. So I'm sorry, Brandon, we have a lot of U.S. viewers, and I just want to keep them
appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. I forgot we weren't I forgot we were worldwide there for a second, not just Alberta centric, but you need to look no farther than the hero Ron DeSantis. He said, I'm not buying all this garbage. He didn't censor medical professional doctors. There's a whole bunch of doctors that were censored, a whole bunch of doctors that said that there's a better way to go ahead. He listened to those doctors. Well, what did we have happen? They didn't have these tyrannical lockdowns. That Florida had 200 less deaths than California. Now, if we were to believe all the people that were saying Chicken Little, the sky is falling, everybody in Florida should have been Zombieland because, the elderly population there. Well, it wasn't.
So we're on YouTube, so we're just going to kind of pull back on some of this subject, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
because I'd like to keep the audience engaged here.
Yes.
Needing to, leave certain platforms.
Yes. So going back to why a pastor? Why is it a big deal to have a pastor? If anybody's ever heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he's a great example of a pastor who stood up against the forces of evil. He was attempting to leading a charge to stand up against Hitler and the Nazis in leading up to World War II, but they wouldn't listen. And this book by Eric Metaxas, it's called Bonhoeffer, one of the most important books you can read, and it actually totally mirrors exactly what we're dealing with right now. And so Pastor Archer is doing a really good So the church, he tried to wake the church up to what their role and the responsibility was, but they wouldn't listen. And so the horrors of World War II, because the church did not step up to the plate. They read their Bible wrong. Romans 13, it says, obey the government because God has put it there. Well, that's one verse, but that's not the whole Bible. Hosea 8:4 says, they have made princes, but not by me. They have made kings, but not by me. They have made, this is the bad guys.
Yeah, sorry about that. But just,
that's okay.
Just a question. So would you say you're trying to, is it fair to say that the overarching objective here is to save Alberta and by extension help to save Canada?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look into what the Alberta Prosperity Project is telling people, Alberta Prosperity Project is a non-profit organization that just simply is an educational portal, essentially. So not a political organization. So they can say a lot of things that you can't say if you're a politician. And the bottom line is Alberta's been trying to get a fair deal from Ottawa for 100 years. And the reality is that we've tried 40 different ways till Sunday and never succeeded. And the reason for that is because that was the plan from day one, was to trick Alberta into joining Confederation so that they could take Alberta's resources. It was never, ever a plan to give Alberta a fair shake. I mean, right from the get-go, they took the farmers' grain, and so they forced the farmers to sell their grain to the government, and then the government turned around and sold it on the world market and made all the money. So then on top of that, when the farmers had to buy equipment, they had to buy it from the government, and they couldn't buy it. They had to buy it from retailers in Ontario instead of buying it cheaper from the United States. And so then when we discovered oil, it's the same old. So, I mean, the goal is if we're able to, Ottawa will not negotiate. So basically, we put together a referendum when we have our critical mass. We put together a referendum. We get 51% of the vote and say we're done with being treated terribly by Ottawa. And so 51% say we are done. And so once we get that vote, then we tell Ottawa, this is how it's going to roll. We are wanting to stay in Canada. We don't want to leave. But if we're going to stay, it's got to be this. You have to work with us, not constantly crush and trying to attack us. So that's it. And if they negotiate, then we stay. If they don't, then we leave. And, people that are like, well, we don't want a divorce, we don't want to break up. No, we don't. But Ronald Reagan used to be a Democrat. And when people said to him, well, why did you leave the Democratic Party? He said, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. And Ottawa left Alberta long time ago. They're fighting us tooth and nail. I mean, we lost 170,000 oil field jobs, and nobody blinked an eye. Nobody could even care less.
So the Alberta Prosperity Project makes it clear that they want an independent Alberta, either within or without Canada. The Independence Party as well, which Archer was the leader of. Also, let me just bring this up because I'll go back to it because we're talking about it. It says right here, the objective of the Independence Party is to provide effective government that reduces Alberta's dependence upon Canada's federal government as it works towards establishing an independent Alberta nation. Upon forming government, the Independence Party will name a date for a referendum on independence within the first year. So, I mean, it's basically the same approach that you're talking about. So you are a separatist party, essentially.
Well, we want to stay. See, that's why I don't like the opposition uses the like they deliberately use that word on, you're a separatist, you're like some kind of terrorist. No, we would like to stay, but you can't stay in an abusive relationship. Like Quebec buys $50 billion a year of oil from Algeria. Why are they not buying that from Alberta? Trudeau allows Saudi tankers into Vancouver, but not Albertan. Like, you can't make this stuff up. They're absolutely attacking us from every angle possibility and trying to take us out. So it's, if we get legislation and we negotiate with Ottawa and they step up to the plate, then yes, but you can't stay in an abusive relationship. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And we have tried, we've been kind, we've done everything, we've asked, we've begged, we've pleaded, and they just...
Right. So realistically, I mean, it doesn't sound like you hold out much hope for an ongoing relationship with Ottawa, like the one we have right now, where it's supposed to be an equal partnership. You feel like you're being abused, and it doesn't sound like you anticipate that the situation is going to improve. So the option would then be to potentially leave the country.
Yes, it's anything but. We're the kindest, most friendly. Like everybody around the world that comes here gets white. That if you come to Calgary, you get white hatted. I mean, we're the most friendly, kind, welcoming people around. We're just being extremely mistreated, and it's time to do something. We're going to do something about it. And
so if there is separation, do you guys have a plan to address that? Do you have do you know what that separated nation of Alberta would look like?
Oh, absolutely. I would want to direct people to the APP website because they're nonpartisan. And so, and I can spend a lot of time on that. I mean, how we get our oil to Tidewater. We've covered all those things. We have they have top level economists and other and constitutional lawyers that have worked this through. But I think that it's what's important. Most important is kind of cover more about the platform and what we're going to do for Albertans. But actually, it wouldn't be just Albertans, because once Albertans get this in place, other provinces are going to be going, oh, that's what freedom's like that. We want some of that. And it'll start to create change all across the country. We want to have tax revenues stay where they're generated. The municipalities have huge shortfalls, and it's because huge municipalities like Calgary and Edmonton get a higher amount of dollars, and they're not expected to manage and budget their money. I can't.
You know, as we sit and talk about this, I take note of those flags behind you, an American flag, and what is the other flag? It's I can't quite make it out in the image.
Yeah, that's one of the first. It's a 1776 flag, and it says when it has a quote from Benjamin Franklin. It says when government becomes tyranny, rebellion becomes duty.
Right.
And you know, when you read the Declaration of Independence, it's basically the history of Alberta. The first 1/3 of the Declaration of Independence is this: we tried to get the king to listen to this. He said no. We tried to give the king freedom. He said no. We had the elected right to have officials at the Legislative Assembly. He canceled the Legislative Assembly. So it was just a litany of 1/3 of it is all the ways that we did our best to get justice, and you said get lost. And so that's exactly where Alberta is right now. And so people need to be free to another thing we're going to do, hold media accountable. So
okay, but let me just back up a little bit here. So you know, in order to get sovereignty for Alberta, I guess you would need to hold a referendum, similar to what we've seen in the past in Quebec on at least 2 occasions.
Yes,
that this would happen out in Alberta.
Yeah, and so if you go on the APP website, they talk about basically how what happened with Quebec is with that, the legal thing that happened with Quebec opened the door that you have to give a province a referendum, an opportunity to give the people an opportunity to vote if they. So basically, when we get our critical mass of people that we know that when we go and make that vote, that we're going to win that vote. And so I don't know when that be. It'll take time, but you know, there's a great verse that says, "Be not weary in well doing, for in due season you will reap if you faint not." And so we're not going to faint. We're not going to give up on Alberta. We're not going to just hand it over to the globalist overlords. We are going to fight for peacefully. Rosa Parks, she started it by standing up sitting down on the bus. I'm not going to go sit in the back. I'm not a lesser human being. Well, I am not a lesser human being because I'm an Albertan than somebody lives in Ontario. And Trudeau is going to get that. Oh, actually, I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because this is probably one of the most important. Well, there's a lot of important things I'm saying, but so Trudeau says that we're a fringe minority. Okay,
And
but
with reference to that, he was talking about the convoy and the freedom movement, and obviously, you would consider yourself part of the freedom movement.
absolutely. But then, okay, if we're a fringe minority, then why did you have to have jackboots on the ground stomping on 75-year-old ladies with walkers, and and bringing in the War Measures Act? That the War Measures Act wasn't even brought in for 9/11, for crying out loud. So, well, we need to crush the fringe minority, the people that are drinking Tim Hortons coffee and eating Timbits. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, my hat goes I take my hat off to the leaders of the Freedom Convoy. Man, did they do such an absolutely incredible job. And they did such a good job that they inspired peaceful movements all over the world.
So the basis for your the vision that you have for this sovereign Alberta, separated from Canada, what forms the basis for that legally? It sounds to me like you're probably basing a lot of this on common law ideology.
No, not at all. It's
No?
it's no. If you read, and that's why it's so important to, that's why I didn't want to get too far, because I know a lot about it, but I'm not the economist. I'm not the constitutional lawyer. I'm not the people that come and speak at the Alberta Prosperity Project events. But the constitutional, because I'm also not a judge as well, or a constitutional lawyer, but in my limited way of expressing it is, when Quebec attempted to separate and they failed, because there was a lawsuit basically saying that the federal government tried to stop, saying, Quebec, you don't have the right to do that at all. And so what the actual results that it came out of that was that actually, if Quebec were to get the 51% of vote of the people, it's a legally established principle by the Supreme Court.
Right, but I'm talking about what comes after, right? Because right now, like, if you separate from Canada, then all those federal laws, all like the Criminal Code of Canada, for instance, right? That basically kind of goes out the window. Now you need something to replace that within whatever the new country or nation of Alberta would be. So I'm just kind of wondering what would form the foundation of your legal system, your constitutional system. Do you know what your Alberta Constitution for a federal Alberta government would look like? Have you gotten that far yet, or is it too early?
I mean, most of what we have in place is already good. There's the only reason it's broken is because of the constant attacks from Ottawa. Attacking our sovereignty.
But the provincial government doesn't have like a federal criminal code. So your provincial government may or may not then be tied to the monarchy. I'm sure that probably there would be a lot of people who would want to, decouple from or sever ties with the monarchy. And if that's the case, and I see, your American flags in the background, would this then create, instead of a federation, would you then have like a republic modeled after the United States, something along those lines, or what are you looking at?
Constitutional republic. Now, yes, and so I mean, I don't want to get too far down that road, because I'm not the best person to answer all of those types of questions. But what I do know is that the 4 constitutional lawyers, the 4 economists, and the other leaders that have been advising Alberta Prosperity Project have really gone into great length to consider these things, and how we're going to get oil to Tidewater. There's so many. I mean, we could literally do a 3-hour show on that.
I mean, you're talking about doing it peacefully and democratically, and I appreciate all of that. And I think that's certainly the proper path. And in my view, you have every right to explore those things. I can also see another side to this, though, and these are complex, philosophical and constitutional questions, but whenever anybody, whether they're in Quebec or another province, Alberta, whatever, if you start talking about separation, some people might even categorize that under the area of treason, because it's like, well, that person or that organization is anti-government, that's anti-Canadian. How would you respond to that kind of, and I'm just throwing it out there as sort of a challenge, right, for discussion.
Well, absolutely, and that's with that propaganda. I mean, out of the book, like I was showing before, The Naked Communist, that type of stuff, and Saul Alinsky. That's the United Nations makes it very clear that if you are a landlocked nation, you have to give the landlocked nations access to tidewater. The United Nations has been very, very supportive of oppressed regions, having the freedom.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, when Quebec had its referendums, you often heard other Canadians, like I'm from Ontario, so I would hear Ontarians say things like, well, those separatists in Quebec, they're basically traitors.
Well, it's sad because, if you feel like your culture and your language are under attack, and a lot of sadly, because I know French people and they're just so amazing people, if you feel like your language and your way of life are under attack from the federal government, and I know for sure that Quebec has had its share of attacks from the federal government. So after a while, they're like, hey, we can't deal with this abuse anymore. And so screaming, throwing out.
Certainly Alberta. I mean, I think that you guys really do kind of get a raw deal. I don't understand the attacks on energy, and I'm right there with you on just about everything you've said all the way down the line. Honestly, so $650
billion we sent. Mm-hmm. Like, and why is Quebec buying Algerian oil? Why are they not buying Alberta oil? To keep it's the way they're doing it right now, Rick, is they're allowing us to pump just enough oil to pay Ottawa's bills, but stopping us from doing anything more to keep us down. They roadblock us, they attack us. Quebec buys oil, $50 billion a year from Algeria. Trudeau, we lost 170,000 jobs in Alberta, and Trudeau was willing to fire the justice minister to save 3,000 jobs in his riding, SNC-Lavalin.
Yeah.
So no, like, I mean, say, like father, like son. In National Energy Program, devastated Alberta. You're killing the goose that lays the golden egg. It's unconscionable. And we've been so kind, and we've been so peaceful, and it's like, no more. We are Rosa Parks. We are not going to sit in the back of the bus anymore. And so we're almost out of time, though, aren't we, Rick?
Yeah, we're kind of cranking up. It's like a little after 7. Rhonda's in the back room. I see her there. So we should probably wrap this up. But you know what, Brandon? This has been a great discussion. I've thrown out a few little challenges there for you, and I think that's opened the door to even more discussion. I'd like to continue this at some point. I'd like to have you back. And
I would be honored. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. I think this has been a great discussion, and I think we're just getting started on some of the exploration here with regard to some of these issues. So I would certainly welcome the opportunity to continue this. So I'll tell you what, we'll wrap this up for now, but we'll message back and forth and arrange to get you back on here in the days ahead. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. I would be honored. Thanks again, all to the audience, and don't hesitate to send me an email. And Solidarity Party, check us out online. And of course, again, another shout out to our intrepid John Scotty Rimby that did such a good job in getting this set up for us. So thank you.
I greatly appreciate him bringing us together. And if you're looking for the website for the party, it is Solidarity Movement of Alberta.ca. Solidarity Movement of Alberta.ca. Brandon Pringle, thank you very much, and best of luck in the upcoming election in your riding of
Innisfail, Sylvan Lake.
Okay. Conservative stronghold right now, but you're going to challenge that and maybe turn it over to the Solidarity Party. Thank you, Brandon. We will have you back on in the days down the road certainly before that election date. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks again, Rick. Take care.
Okay. See ya.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And we're back. And joining us again is the one and the only Rhonda Jubenville. Hello.
Hi, Rick. Hi, everybody out there.
How are you tonight?
I'm
Stressed.
doing okay.
You're stressed out.
I'm not stressed. I feel like I said to somebody, now I know how Donald Trump feels.
To explain, let me help a little bit here, folks, in case you're not up to speed. Rhonda, of course, elected to municipal council, now making, I would say, international headlines again. Way to go, Rhonda.
Thanks.
This time over a flag issue. Actually, the second time she's made headlines over a flag issue. And the reason this is making headlines is because some schools in this area decided to fly gay pride flags underneath the Canadian flag on the same flagpole. And so Rhonda drew attention to that because of protocol. And now it's turned into a firestorm of controversy, to say the least.
Yes.
So let's jump into this. Let me see if I can find a picture of what we're talking about. Here we go. Here's a picture of the flag, I think. There it is. Let me bring this up so people can see. This is what we're talking about. This is at a school, I think in Blenheim.
Yeah, it's in Blenheim.
So why did you express concern over this in a social media post?
Well, I had a constituent reach out to me with concern about it. He actually sent me that one. There's another one in Blenheim. This is the high school. There's another one in Blenheim at the elementary school, and they have two flagpoles. So the pride flag is on a different flagpole, and the Canadian flag is on another flagpole. So that's fine. If that's what they choose to do, it's up to them. But I didn't take issue with it. I took issue with this one because there should not be any other flag on a flagpole with our national flag on it. So I just did a social media post and I said, feel free to respectfully reach out to administration at the high school. And if you are impassioned about this, as I am, feel free to respectfully reach out to them and share your feelings with them. So that turned out not the best because apparently there were some threats put on the principal.
So the local newspaper, the Blenheim News Tribune, has an article about this, and they're calling it, their headline is that it's a flag flap leads to threats against Blenheim District High School. And so the cops were called, and they reported that a 51-year-old Chatham man was cautioned regarding comments he made to staff at Blenheim District High School today, Thursday. The man allegedly called the school regarding the school flying the pride flag in honor of Wednesday's International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. John Howitt, Director of Education for the school board, confirmed threats were made against the school and principal on Thursday. What else do we have? And that's basically it. But I don't know, what did they mean by threats? Was there some sort of was there any kind of a physical threat, or do you even know?
I don't even know. So I was actually contacted by the Wallaceburg radio station because they run a platform, a social media platform, 99.1 CKXS. And they contacted me for an interview, but they had already posted this article. I believe the Blenheim, I believe that article is the same one that the Wallaceburg station had posted.
Yeah.
So they contacted me. I didn't know anything about it until they contacted me. And, I told them, I said, well, they were alluding to the fact that I was inciting hate and inciting these threats from this individual. Well, actually, he told me there was multiple people, but I've yet to see any proof of that. But he was trying to allude to the fact that I incited these threats. And I said, well, if that's the case, the police did not contact me. So I would assume if they thought that I was inciting violence or hate, they would reach out to me. But I have not been contacted about any such thing.
Now, do you even know the guy that they're talking about? This 51-year-old guy? You don't even know him?
No, I have no clue who it is. I don't know if he's a follower or a supporter of mine, or no, I didn't ask a name from, I don't even know if the Wallaceburg station even knows, nor did I ask, because
I don't think they've released a name.
Yeah, I condemn that kind of behavior. I don't condone it. I condemn it. And, but I'm not taking responsibility for it. They were trying to, he said, well, don't you find it very coincidental? And I said, well, perhaps it's coincidental, but I'm not taking any responsibility for another person and their actions. Like, that has nothing to do with me. So
your issue with the flag was a protocol thing, not so much that the pride flag was being flown. It's the way in which it was being flown.
That is correct. And that's what I told him. I said, it wouldn't matter what flag was under there. And then he went on to say, so if CK Victim Services had a flag under there, so that's an organization, local organization that deals with the police and fire and paramedics when there's any kind of a traumatic event or criminal or something that they have to help loved ones or the victims of a crime or something. He said, would you be okay if that flag was flying under? And I said, well, no, because the principle of this whole matter is that no flag should fly. And, he asked me why. And I said, because these flags, they create division, and that's all they do. I mean, they're creating division right now because all of this stuff that happened because of it. Not everybody aligns with the pride flag. Not everyone aligns with any flags. So, but they do align with the Canadian flag, or they should, and they do align with the provincial flag, or they should, and our municipal flag. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Just have those three flags, and we don't need all these other flags.
Which goes back to this original motion that you introduced to municipal council some time ago, and explain to people again what that was about, because that's really where all of this started.
Yes. So my motion was introduced. The reason for my motion is there was an organization that reached out to, we don't really have, first of all, let me preface this in saying we don't really have a flag policy here in Chatham-Kent, which isn't really a good idea. So it's been all willy-nilly. I think over the years, the mayor's office makes the unilateral decision of which flags go up and which flags don't. So there's never been a policy, and perhaps until recently, it's never been an issue. But there was a flag request that came in with a from a pro-life agency, Right to Life Kent, who actually this agency does a lot of things. They help young mothers and unexpected pregnancies. They help them navigate through, uncharted waters that they've never dealt with. So they'll supply them with needs for the baby and for the mother up until until the child is 4 years old.
Sure.
They help them with counseling. They actually help you with, if you decide to do an abortion, they help with that kind of counseling. They help with post-abortive counseling. So it's not really a quote unquote pro-life agency. It's more of a pro-choice agency, but they are called Right to Life Kent, and they're on the platform of pro-life. But that's neither here nor there, because they applied to have their flag raised. And I feel that every person that wants their flag raised should be, they should be given that option and ability to have their flag raised, but theirs was basically denied. So, in the name of fairness, I thought, well, if they're going to let some flags fly and not other flags fly, then we should just make it simple and just have the 3 governmental flags. That way, no one has their feelings hurt. Nobody, tries to pit people against each other and all this division. And to me, it seemed very simple, but it obviously wasn't. So
Obviously, because it just created this
firestorm. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I had death threats. I had cards mailed to me from the satanic abortion clinic, vile hate speech. I wasn't overly expecting it, but I mean, I guess I took it in stride, and it is what it is. So, I mean,
well,
I entered
blew
the
my
arena.
mind when you went to council that night,
Mhm.
when the issue was being discussed and voted on, and somebody had purchased or sent a donation to the Church of
Yes.
Satan in your name. And
Yes,
they
correct.
left the response, which was like a thank you
Thank
card
you.
from the Church of Satan
Yes.
on your desk.
Yes. And it was legit. It's a legitimate organization. So, it is what it is. And there was a couple other counselors. There were a few campaigns against me, and a couple of the counselors had kind of joined in on the campaigns against me. And I don't know. I just take it in stride. So, but I just want to go back to when I was being interviewed today, and they used the example of CK Victim Services, which is a great organization. I just want to put that out there because of all the help they do in our community.
Yes.
But so he used that as an example. He said, so do you think this organization creates division? And I said, well, it depends who you ask, because anyone could look at any flag and it could invoke negative feelings from anyone. I mean, you could have someone who might not even maybe like a war memorial flag or a veteran flag because they're against wars, perhaps, or they're against veterans. I'm not saying I am, but I'm just speaking. And he said, well, nobody would be against CK Victim Services. So
I
then,
don't know about that.
well, I said,
find somebody.
I said, well, I paused for a moment and I thought, do I want to go there? And I said, well, in the last couple weeks, sadly, CK Victim Services has facilitated 2 events of healing for the LGBTQ community against me and my motion. So when you ask if it would invoke any feelings, yes, it does invoke feelings. And yes, that flag is flying. And yes, I do support the organization because they do a lot of good in our community, but knowing that they have facilitated 2 events to heal people from the trauma of my motion, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So
yeah, that kind of that also blew my mind. It's a motion before council over a flag issue. It's clearly political, and they're so fragile that they had to have a healing session.
2 of them.
Oh my goodness.
There's one for, like, the community had one, and then our municipality that I serve as a counselor on, they are having a healing luncheon next week for anyone in the municipality that feels that they need, healing from my motion, which I'm just perplexed by all of it, really.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I can understand how sensitivities might be heightened, certainly
yes,
within that community, because
I agree.
of so many years of oppression and
Absolutely. Yep,
and prejudice, right? So I certainly
absolutely.
get that. But what
I
you were
just,
doing was strictly, I mean, it's straight up business. It was
yeah,
it was about protocol.
they've
Again,
hijacked my motion
yeah.
in order to, like, have this perpetual atmosphere of victimhood, and I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate the fact that they have hijacked my motion for their,
Because like so many other groups that maybe were marginalized in the past, they
yeah,
find their strength through their victimhood because of the politics of identity politics, where there's a
right.
hierarchy of victimhood, and the more victimized you are, the more power you possess.
That's right. Yes. It's just, I don't know. I just didn't appreciate what they were doing. And I just want to be straight. I had quite a few LGB people reach out to me to tell me that they supported me and what I was doing. And I really appreciated that. And that they really, they just didn't want me to think that this LGBTQ plus movement represents everybody who is, LGB. So I appreciate that, because there's a lot of people that are lesbian, gay, or bisexual that are against what they're doing in the schools. They're against this whole movement. They just want to live their life, being, just regular people. So I just want to make a note of that, because not everybody is crazy. So
no, well, I don't know. I'm still searching for a sane person.
I know.
Because I'm a little crazy myself sometimes.
I know. It's very easy to fall into the craziness of it all.
And so, I
You
mean,
just
really
have
what
to,
they're accusing you of is being homophobic,
yes,
transphobic,
yes,
biphobic, blah, blah,
yes,
blah. So
yes.
why don't you just address that straight on and just share your views on that issue on that level?
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely so homophobic. Absolutely not. I have family that is gay. I have friends and I have friends and people in the community that I respect and that I love and like, that are gay and lesbian and bisexual. So to me, you do what you want to do, and it's none of my business. Just like it's nobody's business what I do in, who I love or what I do in my bedroom. So, lesbian, gays, bisexual, absolutely no issue. It's none of my business. Now, with the rest of the alphabet letters, I don't even know what most of them are, but
I can't keep track
I
either, and
know
it seems like they keep adding more and more.
yeah.
I don't
So
even
as
know.
far as transgenderism, like I do struggle with transgender people, transgenderism, but I will say that because if someone was in front of me, presented themselves as, Rick, if you came to me and said, my name is Rochelle, and we were just having a conversation, then I would treat you as Rochelle. That's how I would, just because I have a, compassion towards human beings. Just for that reason, I would treat you as Rochelle. But with that being said, if I knew that you being Rochelle, if you wanted to enter women's sports, then that's where I draw the line. And if you wanted to enter into a woman's change room, I draw the line with that as well. So if you want to just be Rochelle and just go through life being Rochelle, that's fine. But women, men and biological men in women's sports is an absolute no. And these men going into change rooms, absolutely no. So, and all the rest of the letters, I don't really understand what most of them are, so I can't comment on them. So.
That's political stuff, man. All the letters, to me, that's political, and I have not been able to keep track of it all.
Well,
either. I know
and
2S is Two-Spirit, which is a First Nations thing.
Indigenous, yeah.
Right.
I just think, and I think that whole movement has been hijacked as well. It really, like the whole LGB, I think it just started as LGB. It started in the 70s because of how horrific these people were being treated. And I think there was some catastrophe that happened that people died. So, and those people have fought to have a place in society and be treated with dignity and respect. And in all fairness, I think most people know somebody who is lesbian, gay, or bisexual. And I think for the most part, they have a place in society. And I don't think that they are overly discriminated against or ostracized. I don't know. I don't see it. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I just don't think it's as prevalent as it was, 20 years ago or back in the 70s. I think they have come a long way. So but it just seems like this movement is it's growing and snowballing, and more letters get added, and now it's in the schools. And where does it end? When is it going to end? And when is, I don't know. It's everywhere. It's in our faces all the time. And I don't understand why. Well, I do understand why, but I don't understand why we're allowing it to happen.
Yes, well, it's certainly become a wedge issue, dividing people. And I think that the intent of your original motion, honestly, has been lost in all of this, which was really about fairness. And it wasn't so much about, it wasn't really, in my view, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't about discriminating or trying to get the gay pride flag taken away. It was really about other groups being denied.
That's right. And that's what it was. And, my naivety, another counselor, another ally counselor, he said to me, Rhonda, you know that you're going to get attacked from the LGBTQ people about this. And I said, do you think? And he said, yeah, you will be. But, I proceeded with it because I'm a principled person. And I thought, I just thought it was unfair. We've got to have something of fairness here. And personally, I don't think any government building or any school should be flying any flags that represent any group of people or movements. I think government buildings and schools should remain impartial, unbiased, nonpartisan, and it's not our mandate to be used as a platform for all of these movements and flags. So I think it's out of control. And I'm seeing little things that are happening all across the province about flags. And I don't know. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I don't know if they're just going to want us to just lay down and say, well, this is the way it is, or if they're going to back off a bit about it. I don't know. But I mean, I feel that the more that they encroach on people like us, and the more that we allow it, they just encroach a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, unless people, speak up and say something about it. And if we don't, then they just keep on moving a little bit more into our freedom area or democracy area
Encroach
or
on our rights, essentially,
yeah, our
as
rights.
individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, and I explained to the gentleman that interviewed me today, I said, not every single person in Chatham-Kent aligns with the pride flag. So how fair is it for parents to drop off their children with knowing, it could invoke something? So it's not fair that that flag is flying there, because I guarantee you, not every person that attends that school aligns with it. So I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it should be happening.
Yeah, because it seems like there is honestly a lack of respect, in particular for some Christians who obviously can't accept that worldview, that cultural view, that culture, that any of that. They just it to them it's a sin, and somehow
Yes.
we have to get back to a place where we respect their right to hold
Right.
those views as well.
That's right. And yes, I agree. And I am a Christian, but I try to look at things at I like to be open and tolerant, and unless somebody is murdering me or something or trying to murder me,
Right.
I'm going to be accepting and treat them with respect. So
yes,
but
well,
it's
you
very
used the
one
key
way.
word there. You used the key word, tolerance.
It's very
Tolerant.
one way. It's very one way. When when people say, well, what flag was it that inspired you to make your motion? When I tell them it was a pro-life flag, then, oh, well, why would they be allowed to have their flag? And I said,
Right.
okay, but why is it okay for the pride flag to fly? I mean, it just shows their intolerance, and yeah.
So there it is. I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. Now, the principal of the school, as I understand it, or maybe it was someone from the school board.
I think it was the school,
Okay, so
the
he said
principal.
that the
Oh, no, that was the school board.
the
Sorry, that was the school board.
protocol really didn't apply because
Yes.
the protocol only applies to federal buildings,
Yes.
and that the schools have discretion in this area. So do you want to respond to that? Is there any definitive word on what the actual protocol is, or where did you find
Well,
that?
on the Lambton Kent District School Board, I looked after, and it does indeed say that they can use discretion, especially if they only have one flagpole, which this one, they only have one flagpole. So they're allowed to put another flag underneath the Canadian flag. So, but with that being said, if you go to the Government of Canada site, where I screenshotted, it basically says there shall be no other flag on the same flagpole as a Canadian flag. But then if you go down further, which the gentleman from the news said, well, if you look down a little further, it says it's not legislated. And I said, no, I never said it was legislated. And again, under different circumstances, it can be used, or discretion can be used, basically, is what it says. But again, I said, so that's what he retracted from it. But I retracted the other part that says no other flag shall fly. So I guess we're both picking the narrative that align with our views. And so who's right and who's wrong, because it's saying both things. It's very contradictory what it's saying.
Yes.
So,
which leaves us in a bit of a dilemma.
That's right. But, and I said to him, I said, there are veterans that fought so that we can fly that flag freely. And there is so much honor and respect around that flag. But now it's being diminished. So we're allowing it. So what's the next step? Is the pride flag going to be able to go above the Canadian flag? So is that the next? So where do we say no? This is not acceptable. And again, it's not even I don't care what flag it is. There should be no flag on the same flagpole as our national flag. And then, of course, I see comments that they're saying that, we, whoever we are, we're just using this as we're acting patriotic. We're doing this in the name of patriotism just so that they can't fly their flag. But we really don't care about which flag it is, or we do care which flag it is, because if it was a different flag, we'd allow it. And because it's the pride flag, that's why we're making such a big deal about it. But I really believe, based on the amount of response that I received over the past 4 weeks, because of my flag motion, I truly believe people just say, let's just keep it simple. 3 flags or 2 flags, however many, basically the federal, the provincial, and your municipal flag, or your whatever your institution is. If it's a corporation, your corporate flag, or if it's a school, your school flag. All these other flags are just, I don't know. And there's a transphobia flag, there's a pride flag, there's a pride transphobia, homophobia flag. I don't know. I can't even honestly, and I didn't even know it was the day of whatever that was, like transphobia
day. I didn't know either until
right.
erupted,
and he asked me, he said, don't you think it was wrong to even say this on that day? And I said, with all due respect, I didn't even know it was that day. I don't subscribe to these narratives, so I don't know what day it is in that, in that realm of things. So.
And so there's an effort underway initiated by someone to have you removed from council over this?
Yes. She and her husband are school teachers. So, but a lot of people have reached out to me with a little bit of insight into who they are. And actually, you might know her because she led a campaign against Liz Valley as well when you were her manager for the PPC. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about, but
well, I'll tell you. I'm not going to say. I don't want to say it now because
that's okay. Well, you can tell me
but
later.
I will tell you who it is. So, yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway, you can confirm for me later on. But
yes,
that's terrible.
Yeah. She's posting. Oh yeah, she shared all over social media that I have swastikas all over my social media.
Oh, sure you do.
Yep. And I'm inciting hate and violence against children.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then she's also posted the contact information of our integrity commissioner so that people can contact her to lodge formal complaints so that I can be investigated for a 4th time. So I'm sure that's going to happen.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you really are getting the Donald Trump treatment, aren't you?
I know. Yes, I am.
Oh.
I am. So I just brush it off and keep going forward, because with all of that being said, the amount of support that I have and the people that are reaching out to me just out of nowhere, all of these people are coming forward and I mean, I have a lot of senior citizens that are reaching out to me on Facebook that I don't even know. They're not even my Facebook friends, and they're sending me messages. And because these are the values and where their moral compass is, and they see what's happening to our society, and they recognize this, and they're seeing it with their adult children or their grandchildren, and it's scary where we're headed in our society, because what's happening in our schools, our children, unless parents remain engaged, if they are sending their children to school, unless the parents remain engaged, or if they don't remain engaged, these children are going to be lost on us. They will, the whole narrative of the nuclear family will no longer exist. I shouldn't call it a narrative. It's the foundation of the nuclear family will no longer exist. And but this is all in the agenda. This is what they want to do to us. That's how they'll tear us apart and dehumanize us and make us, apathetic creatures that don't really care about each other, and we'll have no sense of who we actually are. They're confusing our children horrendously. And
they want you removed from council because they know you're making a difference. And they've pretty much, until the arrival of you on the scene, they were pretty much having it their way, because council here in this community had become very, very woke.
Yes.
No question.
Well, there is one counselor and he's a longtime counselor. And when I arrived, and after, the very first session, they tried not to have "O Canada" played. So they had the land acknowledgement. And I said, where's "O Canada"? Where's our national anthem? So then, of course, they had to put it back in. So, and then he said to me, "You're going to be a breath of fresh air on this council." So,
wow.
So, yeah.
I had forgotten about this, but did they do a drag queen story time at the schools here? I saw some reference to it, or there's one planned or something.
So it wasn't in the school. It was, so our public school board here had a professional activity day, and a few teachers in the school board, because, a lot of these teachers, they don't believe what's going on, but unfortunately they feel they don't have a voice. So they just go along with it, and they water down the curriculum as much as they can. Anyway, a few teachers reached out to me to let me know that the public school board here was the professional activity day was centered around inclusion, diversity, equity, all those buzzwords. And there was about 10 workshops. They were all optional, but there was 10 workshops that the teachers could choose from. Yeah. And some of them were pretty out there. One of them was a drag queen story time, example. So the one teacher said, I said, "So what does this mean to you?" And she said, "What it means to me is when they're presenting these workshops to us, they want to see how it's received by teachers. And if it's received well, then they'll start putting it into our classrooms." So that was her interpretation of it. I have no idea. And I guess there were a lot of people that went to this workshop of the drag queen. So I don't understand why we need drag queens reading to our children. I find it odd. I don't see any educational benefit. And it confuses our kids. So, and after I did post that, I had it was a lot of fathers that reached out to me, asking me for direction. What should they do? They don't want their children being subjected to it. And so if anything, I'm just trying to wake some people up, because there are, and in defense to these people, they're young parents. They go to work every day. They're working to, pay mortgage, buy the groceries. So they don't know what's happening in their schools. They don't know this. And the one, actually 2 dads said, we had a very interesting conversation around the dinner table. And he said, "My wife and I had no clue that this was happening in the schools." And then he came to find out that his one child in grade 6 out in Blenheim had the teacher has rainbows surrounding her desk. Everything is rainbows everywhere. And she gathering from his son that she is part of the community, obviously, and that there was a lesson being taught. And she brought in, I don't know how they do it, but I mean, back in the days, remember that they always brought in the great big TV, and then we'd watch a show.
Yes,
So I don't, and everybody would cheer, watch a show.
You get to watch TV.
I know. So I don't know how they do it these days, but anyway, there was a video, and the lesson was being taught via a drag queen on this video. So there was a drag queen, but it was just not in person. It was on a video, and the lesson was being taught to this classroom. And, the dad said, I had no idea. I had no idea this was happening in my son's classroom. So, and I said, well, now to be engaged, ask your children every day, what happened today? Because our kids don't see that it's wrong, because this is what they're being taught. And we've taught our children to trust our teachers. And, and I'm not saying that our teachers shouldn't be trusted, but a lot of teachers are being forced, I guess you could say, to do something that they don't necessarily align with, but they're doing it because it's between that or not having a job. So they're teaching a lot of this. And like I said, I know a lot of teachers, good teachers, and they're watering it down as much as possible. But then there's a lot of teachers that aren't watering it down, that are in full force, rainbows everywhere. So.
Yeah. So what does this process look like whereby they may try to remove you from council? Is this actually happening? Is the municipality responding or not?
Not that I'm aware of, but this just happened like yesterday. So
yeah.
I suspect that there will be information sent or emails or requests sent to our integrity commissioner, and she has to investigate it. So then she'll be contacting me and, asking me for my side of the story. And I already know that she'll say, my social media platform, I'm a counselor and I shouldn't be sharing personal information or my personal feelings because I'm viewed as a person of authority. So, this is what she'll probably end up saying to me, that I shouldn't have done this. And I cannot be removed from council. It's extremely hard to remove a counselor from municipal council. For example, there was a counselor in Ottawa last term, and he did indeed commit sexual harassment against a staff member, and he couldn't be removed. He stayed. They asked him to willingly leave, and he wouldn't. He stayed on right till the bitter end. So it's very hard. The Municipal Act, they're trying to change it for this reason, so that there's ways of, for lack of better words, firing a municipal councillor. But the whole problem is that we're duly elected. So when somebody elects you, when you say, well, you can't, you're fired, you're taking away all of those people and their voices. So unless someone commits a crime, I think you should not be able to remove a counselor unless an actual crime has been committed.
Well, I mean, you're a politician. It's the political arena. Where else would someone express their views and share their personal opinions on things, if not in the political arena, whether you're in council chambers or on your social media platforms?
I don't know, but they really feel that I should not be speaking up and sharing the sentiments of a lot of Chatham-Kent residents, thousands of us. I know I have a lot of support. So what they can do is remove my pay. That's what they can do. So what happens is the integrity commissioner would make a suggestion to council that my pay be removed, and then council would vote on it. That's how that would work. And as far as being removed, I at this time, it's pretty hard to remove a counselor. So I would stay and I would go, even if they voted to remove my pay, I would still go, and that would bother them even more, the fact that I was showing up, because that's what I would do. So,
when you're
it's
on the street in the community these days, is it affecting you? Are people responding to you any differently? What's going on that way?
Whereabouts did you say?
Well,
Just in the
out in the just day to day, not when you're at
Oh,
council, but when you're at your regular job or when you're just walking down the
yeah.
street or just engaging with people. How are people treating you? Is this having any negative impact on you that way?
The only negative impact I've received and is people from the LGBTQ community, but and no disrespect, I don't really interact or socialize with people in the Pride movement. Again, I know and love and respect some LGBT people, but I don't think they even they're not part of that movement or that organization. So, and like I said, I've had LGBT people reach out to me and say, Rhonda, I'm sorry what's happening to you. I support you, and please don't align me with what they are doing to you. I've received a lot of support. I have, like, I've had a lot of pastors and a lot of religious people, Christians reach out to me. Actually, a Muslim woman reached out to me to let me know that they don't like what's going on in the schools and they're very much against this.
Yep.
So, I really wish that people on council respected what their constituents were saying. So I feel like a lot of it fell on deaf ears, which was kind of disheartening and disappointing, but it is what it is. They voted the motion down, so I will always uphold democracy and respect democracy. So, yeah. But people are being good to me. I've received a plethora of support, and that's what keeps me going. That I'm able to still smile, because if I was constantly being attacked all the time, it would get a little trying. But yeah.
I have to say I'm uncomfortable with the conflict, the confrontation, the fighting that I'm seeing on the streets between, the protest groups, the Save Canada tour that's ongoing right now, where, this Josh Alexander is going from city to city to city. And it's like one protest after another. And at each one, it seems like the conflict escalates. I don't like the fighting, is what I'm saying. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. How are you viewing all of that?
Well, it's division, but this is what our government wants. They want all of this division. This was all a master plan to divide all of us. And no, I'm not comfortable with it. And that's what I said today. I said, these flags are divisive. We have to stop with them. And once, in the wise words, I believe it was Morgan Freeman, when they asked, how do we stop racism? And he said, stop talking about it. And I truly believe that. Let's stop with all the flags. Let's just stop talking about all these groups, about, LGBTQ groups or pride groups or Black Lives Matter groups or any groups. Let's just, and I'm not saying that they can't have their groups, because sure, people draw support from within their own communities. And I don't think that we should say you can't have your community, but let's stop pitting them against each other using government platforms, because when they feel that they've got the support of the government, then anyone that goes against them, you're the villain, you're the wrongdoer.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. It's like
that's what I'm being made out to be, is I'm a villain. So but I'm not.
It's I think back to a speech that Justin Trudeau gave, where he said, we have to move beyond tolerance. And I thought that was the strangest thing to say.
Yeah. Well, here it is.
Right. This is exactly what you get when you move beyond tolerance. Yep. What you're getting is forced endorsement. You have to become that which you were formerly just tolerating. Now you have to embrace it through coercion. If you don't like it, you have to accept it anyway.
Well, is that Josh Alexander? Aren't his parents, don't they work for the school or the school board? And they've been
I don't know.
I believe they've been dismissed. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Could be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure both of his parents either work for the school or the school board, and they've both been put on a leave of absence.
I don't know. I wasn't aware
Yeah.
of that, but that may well be the case.
Yeah.
Not
So, and
familiar
there's
enough.
there's another thing. I mean, what really did the guy do? What did he do? He just
Yeah.
said there's a boy and a girl. That's all he said. And now, yeah, it's pretty sad.
Well, Rhonda, is there anything else you'd like to add or think that we might be missing with regard to any of this tonight? We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. No, I think until next time, I'm sure there'll be a next time.
I'm sure there will be too. Yeah, I'll tell you, I think you're doing a good job. And
Thank you.
And you are brave, you are courageous. You're out there, you're providing a voice for a lot of people who haven't had a voice in quite a while.
I'm trying. I've got a new motion, which is, not really a freedom motion, but it's for people in our community that don't have clean water because of the industrial wind turbines. So
Yeah.
I've got a motion coming forward to petition the provincial government to start an investigation on their water wells. But again, I am anticipating that a lot of the councillors are going to vote against me on this. So, and they will vote, as crazy as that sounds, that they would vote against having the being able to help people in your community to have clean drinking water. This is the depths that they will go when they, don't like somebody or want to make sure that I'm trampled on, or however you want to
on
look at
that
it.
issue, you're up against a lot because it's also money,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
The green energy industry, all
Yep.
those wind turbines, those contracts, the energy companies,
Mhm.
so and all of that stuff was facilitated through the municipality. That's a hot potato issue too, which people may not understand, but I'd
No,
love
I
to have you
know.
back on to discuss that
Sure. Yep.
in more
Well, we can do
depth.
that. It's being voted on, obviously not Monday because it's a holiday. So it's being voted on on the 29th, I think. So,
Yeah. And that will
yeah.
draw attention to the environmental issues surrounding wind turbines that most people are not aware of. So it's important to let people know what happens, especially
Yes.
if they're living in an area where maybe they're looking at bringing in more wind turbines in the future. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thanks
Greatly
for having me
appreciate your time.
again, Rick. I appreciate when you ask me to come on, and it's always good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Rhonda Jubenville.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Okay, we'll be right back after this. Do not go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do that by donating at freedomreporters.com. Let me just bring that up on the screen here for you. Right there, freedomreporters.com. That'll help pay for the phone lines, the software, the hardware, the subscriptions, all of the stuff, the bandwidth, the server space, all the things that we need to run this whole operation here. You can also donate at maverickdonations.com. Either way, it'll take you to a donation page. This is the Give, Send, Go page. And freedomreporters.com is the PayPal page. You can also donate through the Rumble Rants. Can't donate right now through YouTube because we've been demonetized. As you know, demonetization means you cannot donate through super chats there anymore. They will not allow it. But that's okay because we carry on. Just like Rhonda, if they took away her pay, she'd show up, and we show up here every night too. 6 p.m. Eastern time every single night. And here we are again this evening. And it is FU Friday. As you know, as many of you have been waiting for. I know that you've been saving up your frustrations, saving up your Fs, and saving up your Us. So we're going to go to the phones, and you guys can join in on the conversation. Let me bring up the phone number here for you so you know how to call in. You can call in at 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-3733. Free. It doesn't cost you anything to call in. It's toll free. But if you want to donate to help pay for those phone lines, which we pay for by the minute, because it is an actual system where we have to put people into a queue and then pipe it through the internet and make it work with the streaming software so that it goes out to all the platforms and we can hear you and all of that stuff, then you can donate at freedomreporters.com. Now, what I'm going to do at this very moment is run the promo, which we have produced, and it's so slick and stylish, just for you with the phone numbers so you know how to join the conversation. Don't go away.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Okay, you asked for it, you got it. It's FU Friday. Let's go to our first call. I am so nervous about this, even though it's the second time we've done it. This is so out of character for me, but you want to do it, so here we go. FU Friday is now officially underway. Who do we have up first? Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, Rick. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you? Are you all set to go? Do you have your F's and U's dotted and crossed?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. We're on Rumble, right? So I can say what I want to say.
Well, pretty much. I'm still on YouTube, and as long as we don't talk about certain subjects, I think we're okay. You're allowed to swear on YouTube. You just can't talk about certain things. Are you going to talk about the V thing?
Well, no. It's Chris from out west calling you.
Okay.
Yeah. So first of all, I guess I'm going to say F you to all these people that have been spreading rumors. This lasted a while.
Yeah.
Because I tried to defend myself and tell the truth there yesterday, and boy, oh boy, did I get brought down a few pegs. So F you all those people that believe that crap.
I understand. You know what? I'm going to dump off YouTube. So let me just do this for folks so that we can just speak very plainly and clearly. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to the Rumble channel in the comments section here. So folks, if you are watching on YouTube, I'll stay on Facebook. I'll stay on all the other platforms, but we're going to dump off YouTube because they're pretty sensitive these days about some of the things we speak of. And I just don't know what the rules are anymore, quite honestly. They seem to just make stuff up and then ban people. Yeah. So let's just be better safe than sorry. I'm going to dump off the 2 YouTube channels we're running on, and then we can just speak freely. Okay. So there's the link to Rumble.
Okay.
I put it in the description. Now let me just dump off YouTube. Goodbye, YouTube. Love you over there. All you guys, who are watching, please come over to Rumble, subscribe on the Rumble channels, and life will be much better for everyone. Okay, so here we go. First YouTube channel. Goodbye. And we are gone off that one. One more to go. One more to go. And goodbye, YouTube. Again, sorry, everybody. Come on over to Rumble. We're right over there. It's easy to do. See you in a minute.